So basically, I went ahead, did a groove right here. I'm gonna spin the engine for you. It's spitting oil now. Before it wasn't spitting oil. That's probably what caused the oil starvation. See, so right there is hitting the crankshaft that way. That's the best I could do. This where the crankshaft balancer is supposed to be on this gear. That you see the blockage right there. They did that when I bought the car. They did that right there. They're the ones that did that. But anyhow, I went ahead. Let me spin it. And I did that groove with the grinder, and I shaved it down as best as I can without taking it out. I honestly did a really good job because this was really bad. Oil is now coming out of it, which is a good thing. Let me clean it up for you. Oil is coming out of it, so that's a really good thing. This right here, that big old plate gear, this right here is what they usually cut out, or they get the crankshaft that don't have this, that they get it from the Fusions or whatever. Because remember, this is a 2.4. See, it doesn't. All the other pistons are good. Remember, you can have side to side plate. You can have up and down. It doesn't have any up and down. It'll be nice to make it a 3-cylinder. But anyhow, let me put it up there for you. See, like right there, lined up almost with the crankshaft. I tied up the crankshaft so I could have a space. So you see, it's all the way around. Now, the thing is that I found only 2 spots that it's at 51.5 and 51.3. So I'm gonna go probably with a 20 bore. Remember, I have the spark plugs there, so this is where it's gonna be. So I ordered the other ones to see which one's gonna be the right measurements. The biggest that I think that you could go to, it's a point 30, I believe, and then you're done or whatever. But I did a good job. I grinded this lower and then I shaved it a little bit, make sure everything is nice and even. Here I try to drill, but you don't want to put a drill bit in there and then break it, and then you don't get no oil passage. So there you have it. It should be good. Once I get the connecting rod, I bring this down, let it sit on the top, and then where the groove is, I put it on the connecting rod. You see the connecting rod has a little groove on the right, which is right there. That's the little lock pin. And thank God, man, that I've been able to resolve it like this, but it's just the measurement is what has me thrown off a little bit. It wasn't spitting oil. Now it spat oil. So I'm actually happy. And in reality, if you want to see it, you can put oil through the valve cover and it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster to do that. But what I was trying to show people is that, see the crankshaft? If you manage to cut the crankshaft, like where the porthole is, you make it like this, ovalish. This is where like the oil porthole would be. This is the crankshaft, the white part. Like that, with the measurements in each corner of the rod bearing. And then look how much oil sits on the blue. See, that's like a little blueprint I did for you. Kind of like the face feature. Or kind of like what I did, that I have 2 ends that are 51.5 and 51.3, but I didn't shave up that much. I only shaved up a little bit over here of the oil. And then I did the little groove line so the oil could sit in there. Now it's getting actually oil coming out of there. So I'm happy about that. And I've already spent it so many times that no more oil is coming out of the pump. So now you could put fresh oil, or you could put an engine flush with the oil. but I would suggest clean oil. But this is where the gear sits. You see that bolt right there, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and what that does, and then there's an oil passage. What that does, that it has a 19-pound crankshaft balancer, and that's probably one of the reasons why it was taking this, because there's a heavy ass part. I like to honestly take out the counterweights or make them like straight down, like the ships, like sort of like this part, all over the place. Some people say, no, you lose power. Yeah, but you could add more clutches. You can add more clutches. You got a heavier flywheel, you know? But I cleaned up already a little bit of the surface. I had to take out some edges. I don't see any play with the crank main bearing. So I'm gonna leave the main bearings alone. I'm gonna send them back to Amazon. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I hope, because I think I grind a little bit because it was egg shaped, so I had to grind down a bunch and use micrometer. And usually the measurements, I would do it from here to over there. So from the oil to the back, like doing a little cross hatch, from the oil to the top part with the micrometer, I get 50.9. From the side to the side, I get 51.5 and 51.3. Now I could bring down the 0.5 to 0.3 little by little, but if I do that, I could get stuck. So I ordered just the point, because then now you're going to the 0.30 zone, and if you go lower than that, then you're stuck. So I went to the 0.20s with the best that I could do without taking it out, and it's nice and polished. And that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully it doesn't have any play. If it does, either way, I'm selling it for cheap. And put a little bit of oil on it, because to do it right, to tell you the truth, you have to take out everything. You have to take out timing cover, the pulley, the crankshaft, the clutch, the flywheel, and like that, all that shit. You have to do un desarme de carajo. And remember, I recently did this engine. Pero I know that I had oil contamination because I wasn't getting oil through here. So be de eso that something here happened. Something there happened. I don't want to come into conclusion because I didn't see nobody. But something there happened. That's what I did. I did like that, sort of like a little butterfly yo-yo. And in there, I wanted to drill that hole bigger. Good oil feed is how you can make a car run on high RPMs. If you don't have good oil feed, look at that little tiny hole they do. And then when you put in this shit, when you put in this, look at that. You can put in the whole straw, but it's so tiny that the straw even gets jammed up. Look how tiny the straw is of the WD-40 can. That hole right there cannot be clogged. That should have been a little bit bigger. So I kind of did a little invention, like right here. Did a little slice over there and a little slice over here. And then I micro polished it a little bit. That's the best you could do. But let's see. Let's see what happens. The best thing would have been put a different crankshaft that all the weights are like this. All the weights are like that. Not have this shit here. Because this is pretty heavy. And in reality, if you're not using it, I think that even the other one, they grind it down, the 3mm one. And another thing that you could do, so you could be able to do the caps. Remember, this one you can't do it because you have a bolt over here holding the seal and another bolt over here holding the seal. So this one right over here, you cannot do. Has a bolt in here and it has a bolt in here. You would have to get the grinder and try to grind down the bolt, and then you have a rattling noise there. So the shield goes just like that. So what they should have done is that they should have done it where you could like cut this cut that, cut this, cut that, and everything. Each individual one has their own caps. So you can be able to do it because it's supposed to be your rally and race car. Not a whole bracket like that. You know what I mean? Individually. Good oil feed. This one wasn't feeding good oil. So now it's actually feeding oil. I'm telling you that I was spinning it. It doesn't have any oil because it's not even spitting through here. It's been spitting for days already. Pero I'll tell you somewhat. Now it's gonna let more oil sit there. Most people do it to the main bearing. Look, another idea that I had because I'm full of ideas. Another idea I had. These are like main bearings. Do them like that. Instead of these, they have the same exact diameter. It's incredible. But look at the heavy duty of this. You would have to cut the connecting rod, which I have spares. Take on the connecting rod, but they'll be thicker main bearings. See that? With the little hole so oil can spit through in there and oil can sit in there. And these are thicker. You just have to connect. You have to take the connecting rod with the caps on, torque them and the bolts, and have them cut it. But look at that compared to these thin ass shit. And the other one is go to SKF, go to roller cage, split cage Cooper, and get the ones that are split cage and they're roller bearing and they come with the main bearings and everything. And you tell them that you want it for a 50 millimeter, and then you have to have a machine shop guy cut, but you got to measure how much you're gonna cut because these little Manley, I already closed up, but these Manley connecting rods, they're not too good. See, this was the thrust bearing. They weren't too bad. I'm telling you, they weren't too bad at all. That's why I was like, damn, I did this whole shit. But that's how it is. The more you do to a car, sometimes the less they appreciate. But you see how it's a circle? The other ones are not egg. That one was an egg because it was cut bad. Inclusive, it scraped up too much. Look, this one right here had 3,000 miles on it. But this one was from regular tear and wear. And this one is what I got in just one spin around the block. So look how bad of a measurement it had. Pero it could have been also because not only just a tight fit, and look, that's how I did everything with this right here. 120 grit. The bell sander. And right here I got 400 and 1500. That's the finish. Well, there you have it. This is what Ford gives because they don't do things properly. Trust me, man. Get a Chevy. Look at the measurement right there. On the side, 50 point, on the oil to the top, 50.9, and on the other one, 51.3, 51.5. And that's not bad for doing it with the eye. But you should have seen how bad of a measurement it had. It had 52 something, a bunch of shit. So basically on one side it was standard and the other side it was non-standard. All right, man.